Hello YouTube and welcome back to my channel. Now I've given it a lot of thought and today I'm going to talk about sports. Just a general emphasization. But I'm going to talk about sports just, off the top of my head on this one. And because I have seen a lot of people, post photos and get into arguments and debates about this. Over, the GOATs, the greatest of all times, or the toughest players and everything. And before I get into it, Young Blood for NFL, and Michael Jordan for NBA, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But that's just my opinion, and that's what we're going to talk about. Sports has changed over a lot of the time, and in recent years, it has gone under big changes. It's become not so much a team sport, but people know the individuals and everything else, and they're like, oh, this is the new toughness. Oh, this is the new greatest of all time. Oh, he's really racking up the points. Oh, it doesn't matter. Y'all are putting so much emphasis on these. And yeah, they're lucky. They bring in a lot of money. They bring in the fans. I think that's what really matters. I mean, fans want that person that they can look up to that's like a shining emblem. It doesn't really matter how good they are. Well, yeah, it does matter how good they are, but at the same time, it's just that person, that normal human being, not the person that they see making millions of dollars off of a kid's game. But it's just somebody who, they can relate to, or, that shows that they're still human, that they're still an ordinary, everyday person. And a good example of this, I forget his name off the top of my head, but there was this a year or so ago, I think it might have been more than 2 years, he got drafted to the NFL. He got a huge signing bonus of almost $1 million. And 2 weeks later, he was flat broke again. And everybody was like, oh, he binged on parties and everything else. And it wasn't that wasn't just the case. He was raised by his grandparents or his grandmother in her later years, and he paid off all her debts. He got her a brand new house. He made sure that she was looked after. He took care of her, and that's what his money went to. That shows you that he was still this, everyday person, and he felt like he made it to the pros because of her. Not because of his talent, but because she woke up at 5 a.m. to take him to the track, to practice, and all this other stuff. And, that's the type of person you can relate to. It's that person who still seems normal, and that's like a glowing feature on like the Carolina Panthers. Despite everything, they have several players who, they're the ones that the sponsors want to go for because it's sort of like, yeah, they're pros, but at the same time, they don't separate themselves from the crowd. And if you're a NASCAR fan, or you've been a racing fan, or you just live in the South in general, everybody knows Dale Earnhardt. Everybody knows the Earnhardt name. Doesn't matter if you hate Junior, you hate Earnhardt. Everybody knows it. Because the fact is, he could finish a 500-mile race, and all these other drivers would be exhausted. Like, to the point where they needed help, or they wanted to sit down or just lay down. They couldn't handle the fans anymore. And then Earnhardt was just sitting in the stands, drinking a beer, signing autographs, talking to everybody. He acted like he did not go through any of it. He could have won the race, and he just still acted like a fan. And that's what sports needs in this. And I'm tired of these multimillionaires telling us what we should and shouldn't do, or say, oh, well, I'm not going to play because of this, this, and this. Dude, you're paid a paycheck. The fans pay your salary. Deal with it. And then you've got all these people talking about like the greatest of all times or whatever. And that shows how sports has changed, because a lot of people will tell you Michael Jordan is the greatest of all times. And I will say that he is one of the best NBA players ever. But the fact is, no matter what, as we proceed in the future, new rules are going to change. The game is going to change. And they're going to start putting asterisks next to everybody's name. Why? It's not because they cheated or anything, Tom Brady. But, New England Patriots too. But it's because the sports has changed so much. In Jordan's day, it was a lot more physical of basketball. I mean, the dude played with over 100-degree fever, and he would get off the court, get oxygen. The doctors would check him out before he could go back on, and that happened every few minutes. And that's just showing how sports has changed, because now you roll the ankle, you're like, oh, suck it up, suck it up, suck it up. Well, the fact is, they've sort of become greedy in it, but also it's a safety precaution because, you know, they're paying this person a lot of money, but it could also be a lot worse. But there are athletes who just milk their injuries or fake their injuries. They're getting paid either way. Don't get me wrong. But it's like, people were talking about Serena Williams. She played in these tournaments while she was pregnant. Well, the fact is she wasn't showing yet. I'm not a doctor, but I'm pretty sure she was medically cleared. Don't get me wrong on this. But you have a guy who played in the Super Bowl with a broken leg. That is tough. Now, granted, it wasn't like a huge break, but at the same time, it was a broken leg. I know people who freaking hit their finger with a hammer and they're done for the day. Get over yourselves. But again, that shows how sports has changed in a lot of ways. And, you got to be fit to be an athlete. You got to be in the top physical condition. You got to be under a certain weight. Oh, no. I mean, I don't know anybody who would do this personally, but who would walk up to the fridge and tell him, hey, you're a fat ass. You'll get knocked out. And if you don't know who the fridge is, Chicago Bears, that guy could pound the ball into the end zone, and I pitied anybody who ever got into his way watching sports highlights. And if you can watch those videos, you'll feel sympathy for the players who try to stop him. But sports change. People change. And a lot of people, what I really want to say is a lot of these athletes, they're still the same human beings. A lot of people have been spoiled by the limelight and all this other stuff. But they're still real people. College, I'm going to get that in another video. The college is starting to players making money on things off their name. But that's what my video is about. Sports change. And fans change. I mean, movies and TV and everything change our influences. And that's also going to be another video, rivalries. But that really shows you. I mean, just think about all the sports that you watch and think about how it was about 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I mean, Muggsy Bogues was like less than 5'8". I mean, he was a short guy, but he is still considered one of the best technicians and ball handlers in the NBA, period. He sort of showed the way for a lot of people. There was a midget, I use that term loosely, a short person who played in the major leagues. Now, granted, he was just there to get the walk, and he did take a swing, and they told him that was his last at-bat ever. But it did happen. That is historically accurate. But still, though, sports, athletes, they all change, and some people don't let them change. It doesn't matter if the sports change. As the movie said, it's as long as you don't let your sport change you. So, like, comment, subscribe, leave some hate comments. I don't really care. I will respond to them, and I might do a rebuttal video for you. But thank you, and have a good night, YouTube.